The Constitution, a list of rights that our forefathers believe that Americans should have. The one I will be talking about today is the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. To those who do not know what that means, it means the right to own a firearm. For example, my rifle. The Second Amendment goes as follows. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You and your loved ones have the potential of being a victim in a crime, whether it be from simple mugging to home invasion, or even assault to intent of murder. Today, I'd like to talk to you about first, why Americans should be able to have firearms, second, restrictions on firearms, and finally, how can firearms save your life and the life of others. I'll begin by telling you why Americans should be able to have firearms. First and foremost, it's in the Constitution. Article 2 states, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The issue turns on whether that right to bear arms represents an individual or a collective right. The NRA advocate an affirmative individual right akin to the First Amendment's free speech protections, granting us the right to have guns to hunt, protect ourselves, and hold government stormtroopers at bay. Protection. We need to have the ability to protect ourselves and those who cannot. Nowadays we face everyday threats due to local crime to radical terrorists. Now some statistics. In 2007, the American crime rates for domestic issues were as follows. There were 11,512 homicide cases that involved firearms, 190,514 robberies, and 183,153 assaults. You are probably looking at this as, why aren't we putting more restriction in gun laws? Gun laws are not going to stop the problem. Most violent acts are caused by criminals who disregard all laws in the first place. Even if America as a whole was to stop manufacturing firearms and destroy existing firearms, there will still be gun violence. The average criminal will get a firearm by stealing from someone else or buying one illegally through a fence or the black market. What is in place to try and prevent this from happening? Firearm sales. It is not as simple as going in with a handful of money and then walking out with a firearm, a rifle, a shotgun, or a handgun. You have to first get a background security check placed by the FBI, and then your information will be placed with the seller that will then be given to local law enforcement to register the firearm in a national database. This is in place for firearms to be tracked if used in crime. They track this by using the rifling of a barrel. Each rifling inside the barrel of the firearm is different from any other weapon. Police investigators have the means to extract the track from even the most mangled bullet. Just like in the shows, they can use any evidence they find to track the user of the firearm down and place into incarceration. Firearms for civilian is restricted. You cannot get certain weapons. A common misconception is that you are able to purchase automatic weapons such as an AK-47 or a light machine gun, commonly referred to as LMG, like the M240. It is almost impossible to get a real AK-47. You will most likely buy a cheap imitation of one for too much money only to have it blow up in your face, or as a semi-automatic. Other weapons that are restricted or banned for the safety of the user and others are as such: flamethrowers, grenades, grenade launchers, RPGs or rocket-propelled grenades, other explosive weapons, short-barreled rifles, short-barrel shotguns, weapons that have calibers higher than 50 cals, suppressors, and machine guns are restricted in the state of Texas. In order to procure these weapons, a tax stamp is issued on top of a sales tax. Explosive weapons require a permit for use and an accepted need for so items. In some states, there are laws that ban firearm accessories for no reason. An example is a magazine. Some states ban them just for having about more than 5 to 10 rounds. This makes no sense. It does not matter how much the magazine holds. Carry laws are in place to help in either deterring or being prepared for violence. Open carry laws allow transportation of non-concealable weapons. These laws generally require the firearm not to be loaded and have their safety locks on. Concealed carry allows permitted law-abiding citizens to carry in case of an unsuspected situation that could result in loss of innocent lives. For example, in May of 2008, a 48-year-old patron was frequenting his favorite bar, some 160 miles northeast of Reno, Nevada, when a disgruntled 30-year-old entered the bar and opened fire indiscriminately upon an estimated 300 people. 2 people were immediately struck by the gunfire and fell. The valid concealed carrier took out his pistol and fatally shot the gunman before he could proceed any further. He was initially taken into custody but later released after the Humboldt County District Attorney determined it was a justifiable homicide. Both shooting victims were able to be evacuated and received life-saving medical care. Gun control laws do not prevent or lower crime rates and the chance of crimes. The more laws that are put into action restricting or banning ridiculous items or only create another illegal trade in which a criminal will take place in to do what they want when they want and will put any innocent life in danger with no regard. If the gun laws continue to progress in the severity of bans or restricting laws, law-abiding citizens will be forced to be left undefended against criminals, foreign terrorists, and even our own government in a worst-case scenario of political takeover. What needs to be done is to teach those willing on the use of a firearm and the simple rules of using or carrying said firearm. Concealed carry courses are available to teach how to properly conceal and to analyze the situation to determine if a firearm is necessary. Rule number 1 about firearms is to treat the firearm as if it is always loaded. Rule number 2, do not aim or point the firearm in the direction of a living being without the direct intention to fire upon said living being. I hope this brought a little insight to how firearms, if used correctly, can save lives, and that a few firearm myths have been cleared up. Firearm laws will not stop criminals from doing what they want. It only inhibits the ability of law-abiding citizens to defend themselves from threats. Thank you.